Hello and welcome back. We are gonna start off where we left off. We're gonna start off where we left off. And as you remember, we built the kit of the KLON, and now we're gonna make the enclosure. I really hope this is gonna turn out good, or, you know, at least work. I don't know if it's going to, so it's gonna be fun for us both. I have here a scrap piece of wood from a guitar I made maybe a couple of months ago. I don't really remember. It's a fairly big chunk of wood, and I thought it was wasteful to just throw away, so I was thinking I'd make something out of it. And I had this idea that I was gonna make a enclosure out of it for the KLON. So that's what we're gonna do. First off, I'm just gonna cut out a square piece that is roughly the size I think the KLON Centaur is. I don't have the measurements for the KLON, so I'm basically just gonna wing it. So I'll be back in a couple of hours, no, a couple of minutes, and I'll show you a square piece of wood. Here's the square piece of wood. It's not perfect yet, but it will be pretty soon. I have some reference here, which I hope you can see. Yes, you can. I think you guys know what I'm going to do now. I think I've sort of spoiled the surprise. Not that I actually wanted it to be a surprise to begin with, but I'm basically gonna make a sort of replicant of the, you know, classic KLON enclosure, and then, but make it out of wood, basically. I don't have the real measurements that the pedal actually have, so I'm not going to be able to do that, you know, to 100%, but I am still going to try. So we're going to see what happens. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to bust out my planer thicknesser, and then I'm just going to true this piece of wood up and make it, you know, into a perfect little block. And then I'm going to show you my little trick for doing this angle. Now, you saw me do that, and it didn't take much more time than that. It's amazing. You also saw me do the end grain, and if you're gonna do that, you need to make sure you cut off a super tiny amount, okay? So like, you can adjust how much you take off, and if you put it on like 1/2 mil, or maybe like 1/3 of a mil, then you can do those kinds of things where you cut the end grain like that. Also, you have to make sure your blades are sharp, which, I mean, you should always have sharp blades. Okay, so now we're gonna make the little angle that is on the sides, because, yeah, I think that it's a little slanted. I might be wrong about that. It's kind of hard. This were sort of the best pictures I could find. Maybe there are other pictures, but the way I'm fixing this, and I'm gonna show you right now, is that I hope you can see that I've tilted the guard back just a tiny bit. I hope that's gonna help me cut down the sides and basically tilt it in a little bit. I didn't do that to the beginning because I first wanted to make sure that I squared it all up and made it, you know, 90 degrees and perfect and everything like that. So that's what we're gonna do now. Now the piece is pretty much there, but we have to make this angle that you have here. And the way I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna show you now. But first, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just, because I've I've measured this, and there is about 1 centimeter difference in height on both sides. Now that's 10 millimeters for the ones who don't know. And so what I've done is that I've found a piece of wood, a scrap piece of wood, that is 1 millimeter in thickness. And so by gluing it down to one side, like this, I'm going to be able to run this through the planer. The planer is going to cut down in an angle because it's going to be the new straight line, basically. It's going to be the not straight line, and then I'm going to be able to take this off and we're going to tilt it down. I am not sure I explained this in a very smart way. I feel now that I'm stumbling on words. So I'm just going to show you guys, and you can, hopefully understand it. And if you don't, just ask questions if it seemed confusing. Okay? Okay. Okay, so now the box is cut out and it's has the angle. As you can see on the paper, it's starting to look sort of like the box. But we have a problem. Or, it's not a problem, I don't know why I said that. If you look at the paper, we have this weird edge thing, which I hope you can see. And the way I'm thinking of doing it is using the router and using one of these. But we have a problem there, and that is that when it rides along this side, it will touch against the wood, the bearing, and it will cut. Hope you can see that. Kind of hard to show. But on this side, because of the way it's tilted, the screw that is on the black part here is going to dig into the wood. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to unscrew this and find a bearing that is bigger, that is going to allow enough space so that the screw doesn't dig into the wood and leave a long weird seam. So I'm going to look around and see if I have one, and then I'm going to be back and we're going to do some other things, because we also have to measure out for the edges. If you look at the picture, you can see right here, let's see, there, that the round over bit doesn't go over the edges. So it's just in the middle, and it's basically just to carve out these weird extensions on the side. So what I did, because I couldn't find a bearing to switch out, that's a good way to make your cutters into more than just what they are. But I couldn't find one that would work for this application, so what I did was I put some tape on and I glued on, and I'm going to show you now, these ice cream stickers, basically. And the reason why I did that is very obvious and simple, and you probably realize it, but that will allow the bearing to ride on that, and the screw here is gonna cut into the ice cream stick instead of into the enclosure, basically. So now we can start this up, and we can just cut this. Okay, as you can see, these are the marks I've done now. I had a bit of a tear out here because there is a nut in the wood there, but don't worry, we're gonna fix that. This side didn't turn out as well, and that is because everything gets pushed out because of the tilt. So we're just gonna do it again, but we're gonna switch it out for a bigger one. So as you can see, we're just gonna, not this one because it has an edge, but we're gonna switch out for a bigger one, and we're just gonna cut that again. And it's not gonna match up with the other ones perfectly, but it's gonna look a lot better than it does right now. And then we're just gonna fill that up and let it dry. So when I come back, I've cut that and filled that. So here's a quick little thing you can do. I wasn't going to show this, but you know, if you don't know this, it can be really good to know. So I'm showing you anyway. Just take some wood glue and some sawdust, as fine as you possibly can. Smear them together and mix them into a weird paste. Make it somewhat thick. You don't need to use a lot. And then mix it well. And then you can fill the cracks up with it. Just smear it in. We're gonna sand everything and make it smooth and nice later on anyway, so it's not gonna matter. It somewhat sucks that it has this little crack up here, but you know, sometimes you just have to accept the fact that things, you know, happen. And wood is, you know, it's just one of those things, wood, you know. It's a living thing and it has imperfections in it, and that's one of the reasons why it's so beautiful, but it's also one of the reasons why it's, you know, a pain to work with sometimes. But we're just gonna put it in, make sure it looks somewhat nice, and then we're just gonna leave it a bit over the top, and then we're just gonna leave it to dry for a couple of minutes. Try to press it in with my fingers so that it really fills up the gaps, something like that, and it's gonna somewhat disappear once we sand everything down. So, you know, and if this sinks in too much because it compresses itself, we can just put another layer on. Do you believe in coincidences? Maybe fate? This is really weird. As I was filming this, guess what? The mailman came by and he dropped these off. Now, you might ask, what are these? Well, let's open and see. Fiddly things. Look at that. That is the control that I said in the last video that we were going to switch out for. These are copies of the original KLON and controls, you know, like the ones in the picture. And they look really nice, I must say. Their company is called Tyxen? I don't know. I bought them on eBay, so if you want some of them, you're gonna have to look there. But they seem really solid and nice. And it's really good that they came, because you know what that means? That means that we can now do the outline for where we're gonna drill holes and then mount all these things. Otherwise I would have had to wait until these arrived. It's kind of strange. It seems like some things are like really affected by COVID and other things are not. I have things that I've been waiting for almost a month now that should have been here in like half a week or something, and other things, they just show up immediately. But anyway, so yeah, we can actually now take a pause from all the sanding and cutting and fibbly-bibbly bum and just draw some lines and see what happens to figure out where these are gonna be. Okay, so here's the box right now. We have to be careful so we don't touch this part because it's still not dried. And here we have our papers that we can look at and try to make out where things are. And here we have our knobs. I'm gonna take all of them out if I can. Let's just rip this stupid package. We don't need it anymore. I don't know why everything has to be fiddly. Anyway, the way I think. Now, obviously this box is not the actual size. This one is a bit thicker than this is. And I think that has to do with the fact that I didn't plan this out so much, so when I made this weird angle thing, I basically made the box more like that. But anyway, we're gonna just place these out like that, something like that, and then the switch is gonna go somewhere like there. And I think what we're gonna do is just, we're gonna measure where the middle is, and then we're gonna make a mark for that. I like to use this one so I can creep up on lines. See if it's basically right. It's possibly a tiny bit off. Something like that, maybe? Yeah. So there we have a mark. Let's see if I have a smaller pencil that will work. And now we have to figure out, by looking at here, how far down. Something like that, maybe. I don't know. Yeah, I think something like that. We have to be... No. Yeah. Something like that, maybe. How far down is that? Let's see here. Something like that. It is 9 millimeters. And then we have to just take half of this and add that to it. Let's see. 25. See, something like that, and then we can just make a mark. Something like that. And then we just need to move this mark up. And then we have the middle control. It's going to go right there. And then we just have to take this measurement here. And divide that. Let's see if we can do that. Something like that. And then we should basically just know that that one's supposed to go somewhere around there. And that one is somewhere around there. And that is somewhere around there. And that does not look at all right. That's totally wrong. That's not at all what I wanted. And I think I know why, and that is because they are not the same distance in between to the middle, they're the same distance to the edge. So we're just gonna have to do it this way instead. We're gonna remove these, and we're just gonna take this measurement. And we're gonna add that there. Yes. Like that. Like that. Now that should give us a more... something that looks a little bit more correct, I think. Something like that. I don't know, I think at least that's more like it. I think we're gonna go with that. The next thing we have to do is just come up with where this switch here is gonna be. And if we look at the picture here, it seems like it might be the same distance too. But it also seems like it's in the middle of there. So I'm just gonna take this measurement again, add it on this side, and then I'm just gonna take this measurement. No, that's not what I'm gonna do at all. First, I'm gonna take this, because I need to have somewhere to do this line out from. There we go. Then I'm gonna take this measurement. Don't know why it's hard to speak. And I'm gonna divide that, step it to this, do that, double check and see if that aligns with that. It doesn't. That's because I'm maybe not something like that. Just gonna super quickly double check things by doing something like that. Okay, and then we just have one last thing that we have to do at this stage at least, and that is the red little lamp. And you can see here it's not that far away, so it has to be somewhere around here, somewhere there, somewhere I suppose. It's closer to the edge. Somewhere along that line, I think. Maybe not really that far in. Something like that. And then I don't know. I'm eyeballing this. If I was really trying to make a copy, I would probably try to figure out sizes and probably contact someone who has this pedal to get a more detailed. But I think somewhere like that. And now we can take an awl and we can make our marks. And we need to have this mark, and we need to have these three marks. Something like that. And now we're gonna wait for the glue to dry, and then we're gonna next step I think is gonna be cutting these slits in, because we have to make these sides first. We don't have to make these sides first. I don't know. Maybe we'll drill the holes first, but the pilot's hole. Always make pilot holes. Okay, so what I've done now is that I've glued this piece back on, and this time it's to make it straight again this way, and that's because now I can use my pilot drill and I can drill pilot holes. Okay, so now I'm just gonna use the sander and I'm gonna make these indentations, and I'm gonna make them line up with that mark there and just cut right into it there. And then I'm gonna do that on all sides and we'll just see what happens. Now I've shaped the sides a little bit, and by doing this whole thing I realized that I made the let's call them fingers, I made them too big. I should have cut those lines that I drew. I should have made them really close to the edge, because if you look at the paper, it's just a couple of mil, that whole thing. So I don't know. I might have to reshape and rethink a bit. I probably should start all over again. But I also feel like this is kind of like this one, so I don't know. It looks a bit weird, maybe. But I think we're gonna finish it, and then when it's done, we'll just decide if we like it or not. And then just, you know, start all over again. But now we can drill out the back. And if you wanna like take everything out and just make this a hollow box, you could make a template on the underside that fits around this and has a hole for the inside, so you could route it out, and you could then put it through the planer first, so that the template is higher on this, is thicker on this side, basically, and that would mean that the router can cut it in and not blow out here where it's thinner, basically. But I think that I don't think we're gonna do that, because I've tried this once before. I made a new case for one of my Dan Electro pedals, and I basically just made it like a couple of mils thick, and first time I stepped on it, I totally broke it, the whole thing. So yeah, I think we're just gonna basically make enough space here so that the components can fit, and not worry about anything else. Especially make it fit around where the switch is going to go, because that's where you step on the pedal. But yeah, I'm gonna take a pause here and look at these edges a little bit more, because I feel like they could be more defined, and then we're gonna do the drilling part for the back. So see you in a couple of minutes when I've figured things out. So I'm back again. I've cut this out a little bit more and made it a little bit more neat and everything like that. Now I'm gonna use one of these. And basically what this is gonna do is it's gonna run along the side and let me cut in a little gap. And then we're gonna take some acrylic and we're gonna make a backplate for it, basically. We're gonna do that while this is drying from the oil. Might as well get something done while we're waiting. So let's do that now. Let's just cut out, and I'm gonna go around the entire weird cavity, and then I'm gonna go on the outside as well with another bit. But we'll take that when we get to that. Okay, so what I've done is I've taken a scrap piece of wood and I've clamped it to my bench, and then I've used the holes that I drilled for the controls to put it in place with 2 screws. And here is the router, and I have the thing I'm gonna use in it, the cutter. Sorry, don't remember words. And I can just put it up to the edge, so I know that it can't go down. It's not plugged in yet, so don't worry if you see me touch it. And just line it up. And then I take my acrylic, put it in, and then I can tighten this down. And now the cutter can't cut any further down than the thickness of the acrylic. So let's just plug it in and start cutting. Okay, so I was about to forget that I need to drill some holes here, because I need to make plug for the guitar and for the amp, and then also power. And what I think is they are pretty much in the middle, and then the power is to the side. But I kind of feel like that's stupid. Not to say that, you know, the guy who designed this whole thing didn't know what he was doing or anything like that, but I just feel like putting the jacks as far away and then put the power in the middle. That's what makes sense to me. So I know if someone of you comments and say, hey, that's not right, I know, but I just feel like, you know, this whole thing is made out of wood. It's not the way it's supposed to be anyway, so I'm taking another liberty, basically, is what I'm saying. So we're gonna drill those holes, and we're gonna do it right now. So first off, we're gonna see how thick this part is. And it's 35. So I don't know, should we divide that in half maybe? Let's say 15. Not because we need to, but because that's smarter. So mark 15, put your fingers up to the edge, and then use your fingers as a stop, and you can just draw a line, basically, like that. And then the middle, let's find the middle. Is 6, which is awesome. Something like that. I hope you can see. And then let's I don't know, let's maybe come in 15 from the side. And on the other side. Just something like that. Hope you can see those marks. And then let's just drill those holes. Okay, so now we've drilled the holes, and the next step is sanding this. I'm gonna go to maybe 400, I think. I'm not gonna film that, because if there is anything I know that you don't need to see, it's me sanding. So yeah, I'll be right back when I've sanded this, and then we can start putting finish on it. I'm gonna keep this looking like natural wood, because I think that's cool. But if you're more of a fan of the silver KLON, you know, the one on the paper here, then you could actually put vinegar on it and make it look grey, and that could be like the wood silver version, and we can call this the gold wood version. I don't know. Anyway, see you in a couple of minutes, seconds for you, but minutes for me. No, actually more like an hour. Anyway, see you in a bit. So, now we've sanded it, and it's all smooth and nice. So, let's put finish on it immediately, because I'm running out of battery. Okay, let's put some finish on. I'm gonna put some shellac on, so let's do it immediately. Take some tissue, fold it a little bit so you have something to hold, and then just watch as this wood comes alive. Oh yeah. Oh, that's beautiful. I hope you can see it. Anyway, I'm gonna apply a coat, wait 30 minutes, apply another coat, and keep doing that for the rest of the day. And then tomorrow we're gonna buff it out a little bit and then apply a couple of more coats. So, change of plans. I hurt my hand as you probably know from seeing my other videos, and so I can't really continue building. It's super disappointing, I know. I was hoping to finish this, but I can't. So we're gonna leave it off there. I know it's disappointing. I was hoping it would be better by now, but I can't. I can't play the guitar either, so I can't really show you off how it sounds or anything like that. But I think the video is long enough, and we're just gonna have to make a part 3. I don't really know when, but it will be pretty soon. And so I hope you'll stick around for that one, and I'll see you in that one, basically, is what I'm trying to say. Thanks so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed the video anyway, and that you'll come back for the next one. And so I'll see you in the next video. Okay? Bye.